people of Israel had been camped in the wilderness. They were no longer slaves in Egypt. The chains were broken. The sea had been split. Pharaoh's army was gone. But freedom had brought them to a new place, a place they did not understand yet. In front of them stood a mountain, rugged, towering, silent. This was Mount Sinai. Moses had already gone up this mountain before. He had spoken with God there, and God had given him a command. The people must prepare themselves because the Lord himself was going to come down. So Moses went through the camp and spoke to the people. "Consecrate yourselves," he said. "Wash your clothes, be ready. Do not touch the mountain. Do not come near your wives. On the third day, the Lord will come down in the sight of all the people." The word spread quickly. God was coming down, not through a dream, not through a vision, not through an angel. God himself. The people did as they were told. They washed, they waited, they watched the mountain. And then, the third day came. Early in the morning, the sky began to change. Clouds gathered over Mount Sinai, thick, dark, heavy clouds. The air felt different. The wind seemed to carry something unseen, something heavy, something powerful. Then the thunder began. Not distant thunder, not soft thunder, but thunder that shook the ground. Lightning tore across the sky, flashing again and again over the mountain. The people came out of their tents, their hearts pounding in their chests. And then they heard it, a sound like a trumpet. At first it was faint,
Surely look for you. If I don't find you,
and
who I will
louder,
find again?
and louder still.
If I
It
don't
was
find
not
you,
a
who I
human
will find
trumpet.
again?
No man was blowing it.
How are you
This
doing
sound
now?
came from heaven itself. The people began to tremble. Parents held their children.
I have the
Strong men
money.
felt their knees weaken. The entire camp could feel it. Something was happening. Something holy. Something terrifying. Then the Bible says something incredible.
Now where you
The
want
Lord
to go?
descended upon Mount Sinai in fire. Fire appeared at the top of the mountain, and thick smoke began to rise, like smoke from a great furnace. The mountain was covered in it. The fire was not small. It was not gentle. It was fierce, bright, overwhelming. And the whole mountain began to shake. Not a small shaking. The ground itself trembled. Imagine standing there, the sky filled with lightning, the air roaring with thunder, a trumpet blasting from heaven, a mountain on fire, the earth shaking under your feet. This was not just a display of power. This was the presence of the living God. Moses brought the people out of the camp and led them to the foot of the mountain. But God had given a strict warning. No one was to cross the boundary. No one was to touch the mountain. Whoever touches the mountain must surely die, God had said. Not because God was cruel, but because God is holy. Sinful humanity cannot casually step into the presence of a holy God and survive. His holiness is not a joke. His purity is not symbolic. It is real. It is consuming. It is dangerous to the unprepared. Even animals were not allowed to touch the mountain. The people stood at a distance. The mountain burned with fire. Smoke rose into the sky. The trumpet sound grew even louder. And then God spoke. Not through Moses, not through an angel. God spoke with his own voice. The sound of his voice thundered across the mountain and into the camp. And what he spoke were words that would shape a nation. Words that would echo through history. He said, "I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage." And then he gave them his law. The commandments were not just rules. They were a revelation of God's character. They showed Israel what holiness looks like. They showed them how to live as God's people. They showed them how to love God and how to treat one another. No other nation on earth had ever heard their God speak like this, but the people were terrified. The Bible says they saw the thunder and the lightning.
The city was surrounded.
They heard the trumpet.
And people were starving
They saw
to
the
death.
mountain smoke.
No food.
And they
No
stood
strength.
far off.
No hope
They said
left.
to Moses,
Elisha
"You speak
spoke.
to us.
By this
and we
time
will
tomorrow,
listen.
food will
Do
be
not
plenty."
let God speak to
That-
us, or we will die." They were afraid, and not without reason. They had seen his power. They had felt the ground shake. They had watched fire fall from heaven onto a mountain. Moses answered them and said, "Do not fear. God has come to test you, that his fear may be before you, so that you do not sin." In other words, this moment was not meant to destroy them. It was meant to change them. God was teaching them something they would never forget, that he is not like the gods of Egypt. He is not an idol made of stone. He is not a statue you can carry. He is not small. He is not weak. He is not to be taken lightly. He is holy. And yet, this same holy God had rescued them from slavery. He had parted the sea. He had fed them in the wilderness. He had led them by a pillar of fire and a cloud.